So, what was the moment of inspiration for Skylight?
Well, it was something in my life that I began to meet business people, and I realized how different the attitudes between business people and the culture that I came from, the arts culture. And I realized nobody writes about business and nobody writes about the world of business in the theatre because most people in the theatre know nothing about it. And so I wanted to write a play about business. And also, I'd spent my whole life not writing a play in a room because I'd written epic plays all my life with large casts. And so finally I gave in and decided that I would write a play that's more or less in real time. It's sort of the interval probably is a bit shorter than the time between the two acts, but basically the rest of it's in real time.
And you wrote this just after the trilogy that you'd written
Yes, I'd
already.
written a huge, great trilogy of plays, which I think three plays about Britain, which had something like 80 characters in them. And so, yeah, I enjoyed doing what I think of as portraiture. I had gone to a Lucian Freud exhibition and thought, oh, Lucian Freud does with so much less effort what I try to do with so many words. And that it would be nice to spend an evening with a couple of characters so that you really felt they'd been deeply portrayed
Yeah.
in with my brush. And that's what Tom and Kira are in the play.
And was it in the end easier to write than those big epic plays?
Well, it gets done much more because it only has three characters and one said. Believe it or not, it's my most popular play. Who'd have thought it? Whereas obviously, if I write plays with 25 people in them, there's only a very limited number of theatres in the world that can afford to do it. But there's also something more seriously touching about Skylight, which has always, from the very first performance, it was clear that it touched people in very profound ways that is often to do with their own experience because it's partly about grieving and the process of grieving, and it's also about love affairs that have everything about that is good about them except viability, and that always attracts people.
How did you feel when you sat watching that first preview of Skylight? What was it, 20 years ago?
I can barely remember it. I think what I felt principally was, oh my God, I hope the actor playing Tom is going to remember his lines. That I think was probably, but there are great virtuoso parts, and I enjoy the advantage of having seen the production in this theatre in run through, which nobody else yet has. And it's wonderful to watch two terrific actors really put through their paces in the course of an evening. And there's a special pleasure, I think, in spending a whole evening with a woman on stage. It's very rare that for 2.5 hours a woman is out there all on her own, and it's a terrific show.
What's the biggest challenge facing theatre today?
I think the danger is that the commercial pressure on the subsidised theatre means that plays are no longer either put on or revived for their own sake, but everything is put on with an eye to commercial viability. And of course, there's no reason that theatre should be pampered, but the whole point of a national theatre, the point, why Granville Barker and Bernard Shaw argued for a national theatre was to make theatre a non-commercial art and to take it out and away from the pressures of commerce. I don't think anyone looking at the subsidised theatre today could say that was the state of affairs. The subsidised theatre is now simply a breeding ground for the commercial theatre, and something's very wrong with the relationship between the two.
And finally, I read somewhere that Slag was written in the back of a van in 3 days. True?
Yeah, absolutely true. I first wrote a play because a playwright for portable theatre failed to deliver, and we only realised he was going to fail to deliver on a Wednesday, and we had to have something to start rehearsing on the Monday. So I wrote, it's only a one-act play, 60-minute play. It was absolutely terrible, but it was the first time I thought I might be a playwright, because obviously if you can write a play in 3 days, you can write a better play in 3 weeks, and an even better play in 3 months.